Start the new lab today, and then we'll have a lot more time to work on the lab on Saturday is our next day, right?
Yeah.
No, today's Friday. Our Friday.
Today's Friday?
Today's our Friday.
Monday.
What?
Friday's Monday.
Okay, so we'll be starting on our Monday, real life Saturday. Whatever the days are, it doesn't matter, right? I'm sure just like me, you guys come here every single day. So let's keep rolling today. Fowler says he feels like it. Okay, so today we're going to talk a little bit about more ways to pass data back to the server. So what's the first way we know of right now? Well, what's the word I'm looking for? Oh, interesting. So we've got no idea. So let's clear some confusion up. Fetch, Axios, these are things we're using on the front end at the moment to go get data from the back end. Okay? But how is the back end actually getting that data? What's that called? Yes, Karen? Okay, we're using Express to set up routes. Okay, and what's that little request dot what? What have we been using? Params, right? Everyone should have hit that already. I'm certain of it, right? But our request.params has been getting information passed to it, right? Somebody from the front end has made some sort of request to us, and we've been able to see information that they've given us through the parameters, correct? All right, so that's one way, and we're going to go over that again. The two other ways are query strings. These are things that are kind of older, that you don't really see used too much. And the third way is through a body in the post. So let's go ahead and just write parameters. Parameters, that's URL parameters. Now I'll say URL query string. And I'll also say post request with body. With the body. All right. So let's go over again how to set up an Express. I've got a blank app.js here. This is my backend, right? When we're talking about servers, we're talking about the backend. What's the first thing I'm going to do? Yeah, Isaiah. First thing I'm going to do is install Express. What might I need also to set up? Let's look at my file structure. Just got one file. What? Package.json, right? Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is get a package.json. I'm going to do that with npm init, short for initialize. So npm init good, right? Init good. It's going to suggest some stuff. Not particularly interested in this right now. Okay, but now we should have our package JSON, as they say in France. All right. Then we're going to do what Isaiah suggested and install Express. Say npm install Express. While I'm installing packages, is there another package we might use? Chorus. I might as well also add Chorus to the list. Anything else? So I already have NodeMon because it's installed globally, but I like where you're at, right? Henry, what's NodeMon do? Yeah, what's it do? You don't know? Will. Keeps the server refreshing, right? Yeah, perfect, right? If we don't use NodeMon, which is okay, and we run it with Node, every time we make a change in our back end here, we'll have to restart the server in order to see those changes take effect, right? NodeMon does that for us already. All right, so let's go ahead and just install these two packages. I shall not be dethroned. Okay, so if we check our package JSON, we should see two different dependencies here. We've got cores and express. Can anybody tell me what the package JSON is doing? What's it do? Yeah, Danny.
It's giving us our dependencies. It's saying that without whatever we're depending on, this app can't run.
Okay, so Danny says it's listing out the dependencies and saying without these, the app can't run. So why is that interesting? Why is that important? Fowler.
To ensure that it catches the error as early as possible. If you need Express from the server, it doesn't know that after it opens it. It's a lot more troublesome than just saying, don't open when you don't have this.
Okay, so Fowler says it catches errors earlier. Okay, that's a good argument. Who else? Who else would need this?
Oh,
Yeah, Henry.
so like, let's say somebody gets the code of your project or whatever. It won't run because they don't have these things. Right?
Exactly right. So this is really going to be helpful for other people when they clone your application and they want to host it and see it run. They have to know which packages this app needs to run, right? And so if somebody wants to install all of the packages in here, what would they need to write?
They need to write the node
How do they install all of these in one shot? So it's just npm install. That's it, right? Check those highlights documents. Okay. So now we've got express. I remember somebody already said we got to require. Sounds good to me. So let's go ahead and require express. And we'll say require express. Sing it in the choir. Anybody else sing choir in high school? Shakira. Anyone sing any choirs in college? What is that? Barbara? Oh, interesting. Cool. Wow, what part?
You never seen The Office?
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, that's a pretty random Office reference. Okay. And I have seen The Office. Although I did stop watching once it got bad. Okay. So what's the next thing we need? What else do we need?
That's great, right?
Chorus? Is that what you said?
No, your port.
My port? Yeah, I'm going to need my port, and I also heard chorus, right? So while I'm requiring things, let's require everything up at the top. So I'm going to say chorus, and I'll say require chorus. Sure, let's go ahead and create our port. That sounds fine. I'll say const port. Why don't we run it at 3000? Seems fair. What else? Anything else that we need? Yeah, John.
You need const app.
Okay, let's go ahead and create an app. I'm going to say const app. And what should that be? Express. And invoke it. Okay? What's that give us? What's that actually do?
It's gonna run.
Isaiah?
Creates a new server.
Starts a server?
Yeah, it creates a server.
Yeah, right? This is creating a server. Exactly. What's our next line going to be? Anyone I haven't heard from yet who doesn't want to be shy? Ashia?
App.use cores.
App.use cores?
Yeah.
Okay, what's that do?
Uses cores.
All right. Technically true. Right, so app.use, we haven't gotten into it too much. We will this weekend. That's going to allow us to utilize something called middleware. Middleware is what happens, any function calls that happen in between the request and the response. That's going to give us our app.use. This is doing cores, which is going to allow cores to happen so other requests from browsers can still access it. So we won't get those annoying cores errors where it says no access allow control. You'll see it eventually. Okay. What? Yeah, Kong. Okay, sure. Let's make an app.listen. What argument does that take? Kong. Yeah, it takes in the port. Technically, that's the only argument I need to pass in, just so you know. But I can also pass in a callback function that will fire when it starts listening. And I'll use that just to tell me, like, so I know that it's listening and I have that insurance. So I'll say listening to port. Let's just go ahead and write port. So far, so good. Anything we should be doing? Yeah, checking. How should I check this?
You wanna know the running.
Yeah, we have to get rid of the demons, right? Let's run it. So let's run no daemon and app.js. Excellent. We got it going. So it looks like it's working. So remember, we can make routes, and we do that by saying using app. App being just this thing we called. Later on, we might have another variable that we use instead. But the concept is that we have some part of our server. So we're saying app, and then we say the HTTP method that we're using, right? So this is get, post, patch, put, delete, right? Say it with me. Get, post, patch, put, delete. So it's one time. Get, post, patch, put, delete. Yeah, I can't get the order. Here, I'll write it down and we'll do it. Yeah, okay. So we'll say get, post, get, post, patch, put,
Delete.
delete. Okay, now we can do it together. Okay, 1, 2, ready, go. Get, post, patch, put, delete. Get, post, patch, put, delete. Right? Excellent. So these are called our HTTP methods. And these are important with RESTful APIs. Okay? It might not make perfect sense yet. It will start to make more and more sense the more we see it and hear about it. But definitely log these into your head as HTTP methods. Okay? That should be like lock and key, yeah? So next time you're talking to someone, whether it be your mother on the phone, dirty talk in the bedroom, you should be bringing up HTTP methods, right? Okay? Go fast, put, delete. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Right? So, all right, I know somebody said dirty talk, and now we're all getting really excited. Let's calm down. Let's come back to earth. Yeah. So remember, we're going to go get something. This is like getting information. Post is we're actually going to be posting information. We're going to talk more about this today. Patch is replacing certain information. We'll talk about this some other time. Put is replacing an entire chunk of information. We'll talk about that some other time. Delete is removing some entry in a database. Post is putting in an entire new chunk of data, which we're going to talk about today. Right? So these are your HTTP. These are your HTTP methods that you should be aware of. So in these we have app and then some specific HTTP method. So for now we'll say get because this is for when and that get, right? This method comes from the front end. Right, let me repeat that because I know that's going to get confusing. Right? These methods are coming from the front end. So this is when you're writing Axios.get, you're referring to a get method, and our server is getting ready to handle that get method. Okay? On the front end, if you're trying to pass data, you might write Axios.post and say a URL and some data. Right? And you're referring to this method, and our backend would then handle an app.post. Okay, so they have to align. So for now, we're going to worry about incoming GET requests. So I'll say app.get, and I'm going to say our route, and I'm going to put in a callback function. Which arguments does this take in?
Oh, record res?
Rec and res, right? If you're having trouble remembering that, think of Wreck-It Ralph, right? Wreck-It Ralph is rec and res, right? So request, response. Also, I mean, you can also think that how could you have a response before a request? That's rude, right? You always should wait for the request to give the response. Ashia?
Can you explain, like when we use send versus end or?
So you're going to
JSON?
use send as part of express when you're just like sending text, I guess. We're mostly always going to be using res.json to send back objects and arrays. The end is something that was just when we were using Node without Express. Good question. Okay, so Wreck-It Ralph, Wreck and Res. That's the sequel. Well, it's the trequel. Sequel was Ralph Breaks the Internet, which will not help us here. Okay, so somebody makes a request, and I'm just gonna go ahead and console log or rec.url. And let's start testing this out. So let's go ahead and open Postman. Wait. Oh yeah. Wait a minute, Mr. Postman. It's opening. I know it looks like nothing's happening on that screen. It's opening on this screen. It's not letting me drag it. There we go. Okay. So we're going to hit send. And we're not ever giving a response back, so we're expecting an error. But we should have seen, request.url. Let's try again, shall we? Because it says post. Thank you. Good catch. Appreciate that. Right? Remember, I'm making a GET request. So, well, we're never sending a response, so this should be happening. This should be infinite. But we should see that I have this request URL, which is this slash. Right?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So let's pretend that I have, let's say, people. And I go, people. And this time, let's actually also just send up a response because it's kind of annoying to watch it hang. And I'll just say JSON. I'll put an object, and I'll write people, and I'll have it just point to an empty array. That's not really the point of this, right? Okay, I hit send. We get an object with people pointing to an empty array, and we get this console where we can see our request.url. So let's pretend that I want more information, right? So maybe I have, I'll say, a cat. Like instead of people, we'll make it cat. And I also want somebody to pass in a color because I'm going to give back, let's say, I was going to give back all of the cats with a certain color. So I'm expecting someone to pass in that they want cats, and I'm expecting them to want color. This should probably be plural, by the way. Your routes, things tend to be plural. Film, or films, I think it is, right? Films, people, which is plural, cats. Okay, so then I'll say, this is me passing in a parameter. Okay, so my parameter means I'm going to put something in after this, or in this route. I don't know what the user's going to write. I just know that I'm only going to hit this route if and when the user does write something. So I'll say, I denote that with a colon. I'm going to say color. Should I Canadian it up? No, it's okay. I'll do color for the audience. Okay. So now we can see I'll go here, and instead of people, I'm going to write cats, and I'm going to write orange. Everybody likes an orange cat. And we'll see that our URL is cat/orange, right? This is the URL that was passed back. But we still are hitting this route because color there is a variable. It's representing something that the user will be passing in. It's expecting this. Are we still with me on that? Okay. So how do I actually get what that thing is that the user passed in? Who can tell me? Ashia. Right. I have a params object that comes with my request. So instead of doing request.url, let's instead take a look at request.params. Bless you. You're welcome. And Jenya hates it when you say you're welcome after you say bless you. And then they say thank you. Anyway, so I'll hit send, and we can see, right, we now have this params object where color is the key. Color, we're getting this color from the variable that we added to our URL, denoted by the colon. And orange, we're getting as the value to that key because that's what the user actually passed. Right? The user in this case is our Postman personality, right? This is our back end. Postman is our front end we can think of at the moment. That's the user interacting, sending things to the back end. Any questions on parameters here? All right, so if I wanted to just send back, oh yeah, Rafiq, thank you.
Just so when you're saying request params, it's basically you're keying that specific URL, like sub URL, I guess, like the color, for example, the situation.
So request is a big object by itself, and it has the key params. And so we're saying we want to see those params, and the request.params points to an object that will contain the params. This is what from the URL, which we made with the colon, and this is coming in from what the user actually put in.
So if you added, like, let's say after the cat's color, you added one parameter.
Sure, let's add another parameter. We'll say
Size.
size. Yeah, sure.
So do you want to be two objects coming out, one saying color and then size, or just?
Can anybody else answer that question? So he says, if we add a second param, will we get a second object? David, what do you think?
Yeah, you should, because that's another object you're creating.
Interesting. Okay, so David says we will. So we've got a couple of different things. Yeah, Maria?
I was gonna say it's gonna probably be just like color, like another key in the object.
Another key in the object. So she says we're going to have one object, but with two keys.
I agree with it.
Yeah. I agree.
Oh, okay. Well, interesting. We got a lot of murmurs with that one. Let's see, shall we? So right now, will I hit that route if I just leave it like this? That's my first question. No. Yeah, will I hit this route? Because why?
Now you have to add a size now.
Because it needs a size, right? It's expecting a size. It doesn't know what I'm going to write, but it's expecting something more, right? So just to prove it first, I will hit this send, and I get back an error. It says cannot get slash cats slash orange. So let's go ahead and add that parameter. So I'll say small. Everybody likes a small cat. And so it looks like we had a successful request. Let's take a look at the object. So it's still now just one object, but now we have the two keys, each representing a different parameter. Great question. You're welcome. I wish Jen had sat at the front. You guys could see. Okay, any other? Yeah, Shia.
So, if we were making use of the JSON right now, could we do like an Axios call within the JSON to like give us like how we did with the dog breeds,
Interesting.
right?
So Shia says, can we do an Axios call inside the JSON? My answer is like yes and no. Okay? Not in here. You could do an Axios call, assuming we imported the third-party module Axios and required it at the top. We could say Axios in here, .get, and then pass certain information. And then in the response, then we would have to write. So we would get something, right? Let's say I say like cats are us or something. And then I would say .then, and I get back. I'm not going to call it response because we already have a response, so that would be kind of confusing. So I'll just call it cats. Oops. Arrow. I could then say like res.json, cat pointing to cats.data or something.
So it would be an object inside of object.
Yeah, that's fairly normal.
Or object.
Well, the point is that I wouldn't want to send a response back until my Axios request, which is asynchronous, actually gave a response. Axios would go hit somewhere else, right? It would be making a request to something else, and that response would have to come. And then I'd only want to move on once I got that response.
But how will it know what
Well, cats are us isn't
parameters
a.
you put in?
Well, I didn't pass them in here.
Oh, okay.
I would have to create the URL or something. I don't want us to get too confused on this.
Why
Though.
would you want to put an Axios
Okay, great question. So she says, why would I want to put an Axios.get? Well, maybe I'm using someone else's database for a certain thing. And I wanted it all to still go to the same backend for whatever reason. But I want to still grab the films from Ghibli or something. But I also want to then grab the films from IBDM, but that definitely doesn't have Ghibli, and then like combine them for some reason. Maybe then I would do something like that. Jay? Okay. Good question. But I'm going to remove this for now because I want our notes to be closer to what I'm actively covering. Okay, I'd rather just have to say request up perhaps. Okay. So now we can make our requests and we can see what?
Oh, you took out size.
Oh, thank you. I went too far. Thanks, Ashia. Okay. So now we can see our parameters coming back to us. Obviously, there wouldn't be much point in really making a response that looks like this because we already would have all the information of what their request contains before we sent it out. But that's how we're using parameters. Any questions on just that? I don't want us to think too big with the Axios and all that. That kind of starts to go more into the world of middleware-ish and stuff. But I just want us to understand this idea that we can keep adding parameters and we can access those parameters and they'll come in as an object. Are we? Yeah, sure.
Is there a way to say if there's like multiple parameters, is there a way to kind of catch which parameter has the error? Like which parameter is wrong or missing?
No. I don't, well, not that I can think of. So Ashia's question is, if we had something with multiple parameters, is there a way to catch the error to see which parameter is missing? I'm going to go with no, because if I put in the size first instead of the color, it won't know that. It will just think that the color is small and that the size is undefined, even though I put the size in. Because it's always going to read in that order of the URL.
What's the difference between rec.param and rec.params? Because every time I put param first, and I have to remember to pass out.
I think param doesn't give you anything, right? We can check. I don't think it does, but I could be mistaken. Rec.param is a function that does something. I don't know. That's interesting. That would be fun to look up later. But to actually use the params you want to do. Perhaps. Interesting. Some kind of function. Stick with params for now, yeah? Any other questions on the params? Params. Okay, then let's keep going. The next thing I want to talk about is query strings. So a query string is another way for us to pass various amounts of data without strictly specifying them to the server. So right now our server is expecting like these specific entries, right? It's expecting color, it's expecting size, but maybe we want it to be a little more loosey-goosey, like we don't know which ones are coming in. Ashia, you might be interested in this, because it kind of answers your question, like the color and size, right? Maybe they sometimes send color, sometimes they send size. We don't really know which one they're going to send. We don't want to break. Maybe we use query strings for this. So let me show you how a query string works. I'm just going to do it underneath here. It's not so much what's happening here. It's what's going to happen in our request. So I'll say app.get, and let's go ahead and do the dreaded dogs. And we'll say rec.res for Wreck-It Ralph. And then in here, I'm just going to write console.log request.query. Is it just query? I have to double check. Yep. Okay. And right now, I'll just, as that JSON, I'll just send back something empty. Okay. So we've got a new API there that we can hit, right? We have a new get. Someone can go and get an empty object of dogs. So let's go first go hit dogs and see what happens. So we hit send, get back our empty object, and here we have also an empty object because it's rec.query. Actually, instead of res.json empty object, I'm going to put rec.query in here so we can see the response faster. Okay, so we have an empty object. Well, that should make sense because we haven't seen anything different than what we've been doing, right? Fair. So just so you know, a lot of the times you won't use query strings. I'm going to say that. You probably won't use these much. They were a lot more popular before. When you don't put prevent default on a form submission, maybe you've seen that sometimes the URL gets really weird. It's creating a query string because it's not sending it in through an appropriate post request. Also, like if we go to YouTube, you can see query strings. Let me show you my YouTube here. And let's take a look at this URL. I don't know how much bigger I can make it. So we've got this David Bowie. And you see it's got the address, right? And then it has /watch. And then what's it have? Can anyone see? It has a question mark. This is how we say the start of a query string, with a question mark. The next thing it has is what? It has a V. So the V here is going to be the key. And it's going to say that its value is equal, that's the equal sign, to this long, weird index that I don't know about. Okay? And then it says and. This is now saying the next key value pair. So the next is an index with the value of 92. Okay, so you do see these some places. So let's actually make it more clear. So I'll say dogs, question mark. I'm going to say size. And I'm going to say I want my size to be small. Because who likes a small dog? And let's go ahead and just start with that. I'll hit send. And we see that this is the query string response. Just as a reminder to our backend, we are just sending back up the request.query. So we're just taking it in and sending it right back out so we can visually see it.
So after the question mark?
So yeah, we write the question mark, and then we can start naming key value. Right? So the key there is size, and we say that it's going to have the value, which is the assignment operator, of small. And this is what we get. Seems okay. So this is starting to get towards Ashiya's question, which is, so that maybe there's a color, maybe there's not a color, but they also decide that they want to add a breed. So I'll say and with the ampersand sign. And now I can list another key value pair. So I could say breed equal to, let's say, Yorkie. Let's make our send. And now we have an object, two keys, true values. So if I didn't know what a user was going to get past, and I was going to get past a series of different options, maybe this is my way around it. Instead of coding which parameters are required to route, instead I just build a query string that I'm going to use in the backend. Yep.
So could one go to a website, like say for example, go to Google, and I want to type in directly into the URL, like dogs, question mark, color, all of that jazz.
So sometimes. Depends on the website. I don't know if you can do that at Google. But sometimes you can hit APIs by doing this. Like I could probably do, okay, let's explore. Let's play around, shall we? We'll go to Ghibli API. Was it already hitting it? Okay, and let's say we want to look at, is there a way to get this bigger? People. And let's look at the people. Okay, so we're going to grab people here. Go here, and I place people. Okay, and I get back this array of people, right? I don't know if you've ever seen this on Ghibli or not. Maybe you've played around with it, maybe you haven't. I can look here and I see there's a name of a character named Sam. Son. I don't know, somebody. I haven't seen the movie.
My favorite movie. I recognize this.
Okay. Right, so in here, I know it's small. I don't think I can get the URL bigger. Instead of saying people, I could say question mark. I go slash people, question mark, name, equal to Sam. Enter. Maybe it will work. It did not. Alright, maybe it's not set up that way. I thought I've done it before. It does work? What am I doing wrong? Oh, I just had to capitalize the F. Apparently it's case sensitive. Interesting. Wasn't expecting that. But yeah, see, so this API, it is set up to work that way. So if you pass in a query string and give the API, you can grab specific items. That's kind of cool. Any questions on the query string? Any other ones? No?
So it's the question mark, the key, and then
Equal to the value. And to add more key values, you use 1 ampersand. Kind of cool. Should be cool. It feels cool to me. But so does a lot of things. Okay, so let's keep going here. So the third and final way that I'm going to teach you to pass things back is with a post request that has a body. Okay, so a post request. Post requests are great. They're never cached. They do not remain in the browser history. They cannot be bookmarked, and they have no restrictions on data length. Okay, so let's see how we could do that. So a couple things. We have to install another thing. So I'm going to stop running my server there, and I'm going to install our body parser. So I'm going to say npm I body dash parser. It's a body. We have to pass the body. So npm I body parser. Everybody get that? Okay. Cool. So let's go ahead and require that up at the top. Stay consistent here. I will say const body. I'm going to do this JavaScript style, right? Body parser require body dash parser. I have to configure body parser. So I'm going to go ahead and configure that right underneath this chorus here. And it's going to be app.use, again, because I'm going to use this as a middleware. Otherwise, my body will be unable to read it because it's pretty secure. And so we're going to say body parser dot URL encoded, which is a function that I invoke. It takes in an object, and with the property, I'm going to add extended, pointing to the value of false. I'm also going to say that I want my body parser to get back JSON. So I'm going to say app.use body parser, and I will say .json and invoke that as well. Anybody still need more time on this? All right, cool. Okay, so we are now going to be expecting something in the post. So let's go ahead and make a route for the HTTP method post. So we're going to say app.post, and I'm going to just say slash, maybe I'll say new user, just for fun. And it's going to take in a request and response. And I am going to give back right now. I'm just going to say res.json. And this time I'm going to do request.body. Because I want us to see the body. And just like before, I'll also console log it just so you can see it no matter what side you're on. Okay, so let's give it a shot. So we're going to go over to here, to our postman. We're going to change our GET request to be a post request. I'm going to not hit the route dogs anymore, but instead I'm going to hit new user. And I'm going to hit send, and could not get any response. I haven't started my server. Thank you. Nodemon app.js. Great. Try it again, and we see, well, yours isn't going to see that. Sorry, you're not supposed to see that yet. Okay, this is what you should see, empty object, yeah? So inside of Postman, you can take a look and you can click on body, and then you'll want to choose XWWW form URL encoded. Okay, and then in here we can write our key value. So here, let's say I wanted to have a name. I have to click on it, I think. And my name is going to be Little Mama. And then we're going to send our post request. And we get an object that says name pointing to Little Mama. I can add more things, right? Let's say I wanted an age. I would say age. Little Mama is 100. So 1,000, 100. I'm going to send. And we get this object, Little Mama, age 100. Right? Remember, this is coming in to the back end. So, what does this seem familiar? What does that remind you of? Anything? Yeah. Henry?
That's when you went and did the get, and you had backslash get slash dogs, and then slash.
Okay, so it reminds you of something we've done. What about, does it remind you of anything from your life working with computers? Yeah, right? Pretty much any form you've ever filled out online has probably sent a post request to a server. Right? So when you've logged in and it asks for your name and your email, right, it goes ahead and sends back here, and it takes the body and it creates a new user to add. Pretty interesting.
So it's, and it saves it, right? So you
Yeah,
come back and you grab it later on.
well, it saves it into a database. Yes. Right, so let's pretend, okay. So at the very top of this, let's go ahead and create an array of people that's empty. Okay? And when someone goes to /people, so we'll also do this, we'll say app.people, app.get /people. We will do request.response, and we will say res.json people. Okay. Here's the challenge. Ready? Let's see if we can do this. I want you to build off of this. So I want you to create an HTML page that takes in a name and age from a user and submits a form. On submit, send back the data and add it to our people array. When a user clicks the button that says reveal people, it will list their names. Okay, so I essentially want you to build something that's going to look like, I'll just do it over here. It's going to say name, age, and then add user. Okay? They'll write it, they'll add a user, they'll write it, they'll add a user. And then when they click on show user, show users, we'll get a bulletin list of those users. Okay? One thing at a time. But try that for the next half hour. Okay, work with the person next to you. Proceed. Yes.
A little more of the present JSON people.
Okay, so try it. I'm going to stop the video.